In most parts of Australia, you can't ride your push bike to the corner store without first being required to don a helmet. Yet in the hurly-burly of women's lacrosse, players are actually banned from wearing helmets.
With the prospect of injured players being able to take legal action against officials, the game's administrators are begrudgingly giving ground on the issue. During National Championship Week for Women's Lacrosse, Karen Pratt filed this report on the great helmet debate.
Ball and sticks whizzing through the air, players speeding down the field, hearts and legs pumping with the adrenaline that is women's lacrosse. It's strictly a non-contact sport, the catch being there's undoubtedly an element of risk. But still, for the players, simply strapping on a helmet for protection is a provocative act. Helmets are banned by national and international rules. But even in the conservative world of women's lacrosse, there are rule breakers, trailblazers who are rocking the foundations of this once genteel sport.
Well, the problem is at the moment that administrators are not prepared to make a rule change to allow players the right to protect themselves.
Wendy Piltz is a lecturer at the University of South Australia, a national player and the woman researching injuries in lacrosse.
The worst one that I've had happen to me was a facial laceration, 16 stitches down my forehead, which was the thing that prompted me to begin this quest for player safety. I would say at least 50% of, the current Australian team would have received a potentially serious head or facial injury during their playing career at some stage.
Last year, Wendy completed a pilot study in South Australia on the prevention of head injuries.
It is fact. Injuries occur, serious head injuries occur, and the wearing of a helmet will prevent those injuries. And so we'll continue to fight for the player's right to wear a helmet in the game.
South Australian players have been fighting for nearly a decade to have helmets introduced as optional equipment. They've been national champions for the last 6 years, and in 1990, the rebel state changed their constitution to override the national no helmet ruling. Since then, in South Australian domestic competition, helmets have been optional.
South Australia actually can't wear helmets in South Australia.
But they do, they say they've changed their constitution.
It's not a constitutional matter, it's a rules matter.
So basically it's a rebellion?
Correct.
Australian Women's Lacrosse Council President, Fiona Clark. So how can you justify not allowing them to wear the helmets? What would you tell people who say, this is unbelievable?
We don't think it's unbelievable, and we don't believe that the rules as they're played now necessitate the wearing of helmets.
What about having injuries on your conscience, though, on the national body's conscience?
We haven't had any serious injuries, head injuries in Australia at all.
Eye injuries and fractured cheekbones, they're fairly serious. People have been left with nasty legacies.
There have been some injuries in women's lacrosse, but no more so in women's lacrosse than any other sport.
Wendy Piltz has compiled a list of at least 60 players who've suffered head and facial injuries, all of which would have been prevented had the player worn a helmet. But some officials discount that conclusion.
The people that were injured in that manner would not have wanted to wear a helmet.
But shouldn't they have had the choice?
No. This is where you have the semantics of the thing that's saying, should they have a choice? Well, no, they don't have a choice because there are structures in place to say these are the equipment that you may wear. And if you don't wear those, what right have you got to change it to something else?
National Umpiring Director Jan Jackson believes a mouth guard, nose cone and eye goggles are the answer, equipment currently allowed within the rules.
Well, the reason why a nose guard and eye guards, or a combination of those three things, are not used is that, one, is they're not available, and two, because they don't provide the appropriate protection.
Best prevention is with a mask and full helmet. There is at the present time the possibility of using eye guards and also nose guards, but that really doesn't cover the full facial area, and the bones around the face aren't strong enough to absorb an impact from a heavy rubber ball.
General practitioner Dr. Gary Carter treated a Victorian player last year for a facial fracture, then wrote to the Victorian Association expressing his concerns. He wrote, "Miss Dunleavy was struck in the cheek by a lacrosse ball thrown at close range and was carried from the oval semi-conscious and now faces the possibility of permanent disability. I consider her injury entirely preventable if she had been wearing a helmet."
Well, I think it's sad. I think it's a pity that safety, unfortunately, takes second place.